The country at number 10 is Belgium. Let's take a look to see what Belgium has to offer. Why is it such a peaceful country? Well, judging by the Global Peace Index, the country of Belgium is one of the best places to live in all of Europe, as well as on the planet in general. It's located in the heart of Europe, and it's a very beautiful country. And it's home to some very special places like Brussels. And of course, that's the capital of Belgium. It's also home to the European Union as well as NATO. And now Belgium, it has a lot of medieval cities, beautiful town halls, majestic castles, and it's just a captivating, naturally beautiful place to be in. Really contributes to the peaceful vibe of the country. Of course, we have to mention Sweden. They come in at number 9. So Sweden, of course, is located in the far north of Europe, and Sweden is one of the most beautiful Scandinavian countries on the planet. The country has very low levels of robbery. Only 9,000 of them happen per year. Compared to the United States, that number is at 350,000 plus. There's also very high standard of living as well as generous parenting leave for moms and dads. About 15 months they can take off. Plus they have a great welfare system. And of course that justifies why it's ranked so high as one of the peaceful countries in the world. Canada is up next at number 8. So Canada has one of the best standards of living in the entire world. Now, if you've ever been to places like Toronto, even to Niagara Falls, you'll see why Canada is so awesome. It's clean, it's very diverse. There's a lot of gorgeous people that live in Canada. You know? So with the peaceful country that Canada is, you'll also find beautiful landscapes that make it a great place to live, as well as for photography and people that just love exploring nature. People are also very polite in Canada. Like, they will literally apologize to you if you accidentally walk into them and bump them on the street. That's a true fact. Moving on now to number 7, we have Finland. Finland is considered one of the most peaceful countries and most livable countries on the planet. It has one of the best education systems in the world, and our children are given a lot of recesses. And I guess because of that, that's why they have very low rates of ADHD. There's practically no corruption in the country, and you're not gonna find a lot of class distinction in the country as well. People are just sort of seen as equal, and also scores really high on gender equality as well. Japan comes in at number 6 in this episode. So of course, Japan is one of the most fascinating countries culturally and traditionally in the entire world. It's home to a lot of things. It also has one of the best economies in the world. Japan is also considered the happiest country in all of Asia. Japan is very safe in many aspects. You find that it has a low crime rate as well as no major conflicts with any of its neighboring countries. You'll also find great food, a lot of polite people, as well as a stellar transportation system. These guys, the Japanese, they've definitely built a peaceful and technologically advanced country within a relatively short period of time, despite, their history. With that said, we're moving on to the country at number 5. Switzerland. See what they got going on. There are very low levels of crimes in Switzerland. It's located in the heart of the European Union. Switzerland is a naturally beautiful, fascinating place as well. The country is known for its neutral behavior in regional as well as international global political issues. The country also has a strong diplomatic relation with many other countries around the world, and the authorities have also invested heavily in their people in providing them with great education as well as healthcare services and, a lot of employment benefits. Coming up next, we have the country of Austria. Now, we don't hear about this country too much, but it's a small landlocked country in South Central Europe. And Austria has also moved up on the list when it comes to being one of the most peaceful countries in the world. And that has a lot to do with its stance on certain international political issues. Austria is doing very well. There's no austerity, and it's not being blamed like a lot of its neighboring countries for not saving Europe. But either way, outside of that, Austria definitely has earned its spot on the list of most peaceful countries in the world. New Zealand is up next. Now, it has a very small percentage of its population that's in prison. It has limited military capability, and of course, it has strong relations with Australia. New Zealand is also one of the most unpolluted countries in the entire planet, and New Zealanders get a very generous leave benefits so that they have a lot of time to enjoy the landscapes as well as other attractions that the country has to offer. Now, this episode would not be complete if I didn't couldn't mention the country of Denmark. We've talked a lot about this country here on FTD Facts, but you know, Denmark holds the second place in this episode as the most peaceful country in the world. So similar to New Zealand, Denmark and the rest of the North European countries consistently rank as the best when it comes to safety. Denmark is also the most peaceful nation on the continent of Europe. Taxation is high, but the money, of course, is well spent on making the Danish lifestyle really relaxed, well organized, and just all around great. But with that all said, it was not enough to come in at number 1 as the most peaceful country. That goes to Iceland. Apart from its crazy icy scenery, it's reported that Iceland has a 100% literacy rate and has a population of over 300,000 people. So of course, it's one of the most educated countries in the world. Icelanders are also known to be very tolerant towards minorities, so that of course is a huge plus. And also one of the best things that you'll find about Iceland is that its murder rates are very low. Only 1.8 per 100,000 of its population are murdered every single year. Of course, murders are practically non-existent, so no doubt that this country is a really safe place to live and overall a peaceful country. That's why it's number 1 in this episode. Now the country that comes in at number 10 is Czechia. Czechia, aka Czech Republic. You know, this country is located in Central Europe, and Czechia has recently fallen a few spots in terms of its safety. But over the last decade, the country has shown a lot of improvement in several areas, including political stability and personal security, as well as international relations. Hundreds of thousands of people visit Czechia from the UK as well as other places each and every year, and most of those visits were trouble-free. The FCO states that even though there is no recent history of threats of terror in the country, attacks can't be ruled out 100% though. The country at number 9 is Japan. Japan has quite a bit of disparities when it comes to safety. Japan also has a single natural hazard score of 10, and that's actually the maximum level of risk within the Inform Index. And this is a way really to understand and measure the risk of humanitarian crises. However, the country does have the 10th highest coping capacity of all recorded countries. And by the way, coping capacity is the way in which people and organizations use resources to address and manage issues. Moving on to number 8, we have Slovenia. The country of Slovenia is actually up 2 places from the previous report. And this is a European country, and it has no recent history of terror threats in any form. And this is according to the FCO. Slovenia isn't a country high on many people's radar, with just over 2 million people. And this is not really a fact, but there's a legend that's attached to Slovenia that says that when God was distributing the land to all the different nations, he actually forgot about Slovenia, and to make up for that, he gave them a little piece of paradise. So yeah, Slovenia's territory is half covered with forests and has one of the highest levels of biodiversity in all of Europe. So yeah, little taste of heaven in that country. We have Singapore at number 7, and they moved up 2 spots from the previous report. Now Singapore saw approximately 18.5 million visitors over the past year, and this is based on the most recent numbers. Most of the visits though were no trouble at all, yet the FCO deems attacks as likely to happen on Singapore. Woohoo! We made it! Number 6, Canada. So unlike our neighbors down south, the United States, Canada is still one of the safest and most peaceful countries on the planet. In 2019, Canada showed a small improvement in the overall score, and this was according to the GPI. Now the GPI reported that militarization improved slightly in the country, and this was based on fewer weapon imports into the US and reduced weapons export and nuclear and heavy weapons capabilities in Canada. Halfway into number 5, we have the country of Denmark. Denmark was one of 24 countries that had a reduction in terror threat impact in the year 2019. Now attacks in Denmark can't be fully ruled out according to the FCO, but the country also has the autonomous territory of Greenland under its dominion, and Greenland is not connected to Denmark. It's a massive island country, so it makes Denmark a more attractive place when it comes to being a country that you want to be in if World War III actually happens. Next up, we have Austria. Austria unfortunately fell 1 place from the previous report. However, according to the UK Foreign Exchange and Commonwealth Office, just under 1 million British nationalists visit Austria every single year, and that number goes into the millions if you look at the visitors it has from other countries. And most of those visits, yeah, people didn't experience any trouble at all. And when it comes to attacks on Austria, well, they can't be ruled out either. That's how they're classified. The country number 3 is Portugal. Portugal has risen 2 spots from the previous report, and the country was officially neutral during World War II and has kept out of most foreign conflicts. Now, Portugal is one of the countries that has shown the largest improvement in positive peace since the year 2013, and this is according to the Global Peace Index. Number 2 brings us New Zealand. New Zealand, which has come in second place for the past 2 years actually. It maintained or improved its scores in 22 areas. However, it did see a decline in the impact of attacks because of the March 15, 2019 attack on 2 mosques in Christchurch. Now, improvements in 5 other areas though helped New Zealand maintain its rank as the second most peaceful country in the entire world. And of course, at number 1, it's Iceland. Iceland again. Yeah, this country, honestly, it's been the number 1 most peaceful country forever, and also the safest country. Like, really, it's an island country. It shares the borders with no other country, so of course it makes it a very safe option for protection. According to the GPI, half of the countries in Europe, which is considered to be the world's most peaceful nation, have deteriorated in peacefulness since the year 2008. Iceland, on the other hand, is the only Nordic country that is more peaceful now than it was in 2008.
Alright, at number 10, we've actually got 2 countries in a tie. We have Ireland and Japan. Rising 2 spots to a tie with Japan at number 10, Ireland falls within the world's 10 most peaceful countries and comes in at Europe's number 8. Ireland is one of the absolute lowest ranked countries in terms of the economic cost of violence in the country as a percent of GDP spending, a meager 3.1%. For comparison, the number 1 highest spender in this category is Syria, where violence costs the country a whopping 66.9% of its GDP. Falling 1 spot to tie with Ireland is Japan, still ranking as one of the most peaceful countries in the world. Japan is known as being one of the safest countries with extremely low rates of crime. Compared to the United States, Japan has 4 times less violent crime per capita. They also have no professional military, only an internal security force. Next up, we have Switzerland. Though it comes in 2 places lower than the last GPI ranking, Switzerland continues to be consistently ranked in the top 10 of most peaceful countries in the world. Switzerland is notable on this year's GPI ranking for being the only European country in the top 5 lowest states when it came to ongoing domestic or international conflict. Coming in at number 8, we have Canada. Of course, known as having some of the kindest people and most apologetic people, Canada is on the list. Under the leadership of global citizen and Star Wars fan Justin Trudeau, Canada retained its position as the 8th most peaceful country on the planet. Since the last ranking, Canada saw marginal improvements in its weapons exports and involvement in international conflict. It seems like the stereotype of the friendly Canadian may have some basis in reality. Proud to call this my home country. Alright, the country in 7th place is Slovenia. The Central European country of Slovenia climbed an impressive 3 spots to number 7 in the 2017 GPI rankings. Of countries in Europe, Slovenia comes in at number 3 when it comes to low levels of militarization, a testament to the country's focus on sustainable tourism as opposed to armed conflict. Residents of the nation can be proud to boast not only some of the most gorgeous natural beauty in the world, but also some of the most peaceful practices. Moving on to Czech Republic. In a year when many countries made improvements in their ranking, Czech Republic retained its ranking of number 6 by showing improvements across a broad swath of peace indicators. Most notably, Czech Republic improved in measures of good relations with neighbors and the acceptance of the rights of others. This is quite a feat considering that about half of all European nations declined in one or both of these measures from 2005 to 2015. And coming in at number 5, we have the country of Denmark. Though Denmark ranks in the top 5 of the world's most peaceful countries, Danes will be disappointed that their ranking dropped by 3 points. Regardless, the Nordic land, known for amazing architecture and snowy winters, still showed improvements across 6 out of 8 indicators of peacefulness. And Austria comes in at number 4, falling a single spot from the coveted top 3 list. However, this slight fluctuation in their ranking should not take away from the exemplary peacefulness the country continues to exhibit. In Europe, the average free flow of information measure dropped 5%, with each country that got worse in this category deteriorating by an average of 10%. Austria was one of the few countries to buck this trend, improving their score on the measure by 5.6%. And coming in at number 3, the home of my heart, rising 2 spots, Portugal cracked the top 3 to become one of the most peaceful countries on the planet. The same country that gave the world the most exemplary specimen of humanity in Cristiano Ronaldo is now offering their entire nation as an example of the best we can strive for. Less than 5 years ago, Portugal was ranked number 16, making this year's ranking very impressive. All right, up next we have New Zealand. Now, despite the hundreds of thousands of orcs and elves who died during the filming of Lord of the Rings, New Zealand is once again ranked among the world's most peaceful nations. Rising from number 4 last year to number 2 this year, New Zealand saw improvements in almost every category and are ranked in the top 10 for almost every single one. And coming in first place, the gold medal goes to Iceland. Since 2008, the country has been the undisputed number 1 ranked most peaceful nation in the world. It ranks at the very top in just about every single measure on the GPI, including being number 1 in social safety and security and militarization. Contrary to its name, Iceland seems to be a land of very warm-hearted people.